Hey kids, Lala here. Today I'm going to tell you about how to close read a text. This is something we will do throughout the year. What is close reading, you want to know? Well, it's not as close as that picture of the cat reading that story. It is a careful and purposeful reading of the text. It helps you slow down and interpret difficult passages. It keeps you focused on the purpose of your reading. We leave our thinking on the page so we can come back to it later, like when we're writing a paper or preparing for a discussion. It is actively interacting with the text while you read it, and it involves a multi-step process where you read the text more than one time, and you're going to mark the text, which means annotating the text. To annotate means to supply critical and explanatory notes. So, annotating is your thinking and your conversation that's going on in your head. You're going to put that down on the page and in the margins of the article. So this is how we're going to practice close reading. It's a 5-step process. So number 1 is you're going to go through and you're going to number the paragraphs. Number 2, you're going to cold read it. That means you just read it through one time, get the gist. Number 3, you're going to state the author's purpose. Step number 4 is read with your pencil, and that's when you're going to put symbols throughout the text. And number 5 is going to be explaining your thinking. So the symbols that you put throughout the text, you are going to explain why it is you put a question mark or a smiley face. All these steps work together, and in the end, you will understand on a deeper level exactly what you've read. So, number 1, step 1 is numbering the paragraphs. Begin your close read by simply numbering the paragraphs. You're just going to go through and in the margin number them. Step 2 is called a cold read because this is the first time that you are reading it. You're going to read it once to yourself all the way through without stopping. Just get the gist. Just reading, no writing. On the top of the page, you're going to write the letters AP, and then next to those letters, you're going to write the author's purpose. It's going to be one of 3 things. Did the author write this article to inform you, to persuade you, or to entertain you? So you're going to write AP and then the author's purpose on the top corner of the page. Step 4 is reading with your pencil. This is where you are going to leave the different text symbols in the text as you are thinking and reading. So when you come across an unfamiliar word, you're going to circle it. If you have a question or you're confused, you're going to leave a question mark. If you're like, I get it, then you're going to leave a check mark. If you're like, oh, this reminds me of something else in my life or something else in the world. If you make a connection, you're going to do like a sideways 8 or infinity sign. If you read something that you believe, oh, that's important, you're going to star it. And as you read, there's going to be things you agree with and things you don't agree with. So if you agree with it, you're going to leave a plus sign. And if you disagree with it, you're going to leave a minus sign. You also can use emojis, and here the possibilities are endless. So you can also use any sort of emoji that you draw in the margins or in the text, and then after you draw that emoji, then you are going to write how it relates to the text. And then step 5 is to explain your thinking. You're going to leave your thinking on the page. So all the symbols that you put in there, you're going to explain them. You're going to write down your questions. You're going to tell me your connections, the things you agree and disagree with, and why. Why did you leave this emoji, this sad face or the happy face? So for every symbol that you leave, you are going to put a note in the margin explaining it. And as you can see on this example, so every little thinking draws a line back to the symbol of the text. This is what your paper should look like. So let's practice. We're going to practice all 5 steps when we close read our article that is attached. And you're going to do all 5 steps in order. You're going to number the paragraphs. You're going to cold read to get the gist. You're going to list the author's purpose in the top right corner. You're going to read with your pencil. That's where you're leaving all the symbols. And then you're going to go back and explain the thinking of the symbols that you left throughout the paper. And you're going to do this using Cami. So Cami is an extension where you're going to be able to highlight, underline, circle, draw your emojis right there on the page. You're going to be able to annotate the article and then turn it in so that I can see your annotations. And how you're going to do that? Well, I have a video explaining how you're going to use Cami.
This video will show you how to open, mark up, and turn in an assignment using Cami. At times, your teacher will assign you something in Schoology that requires you to use the Cami extension. Other times, your teachers will include a PDF for you simply to reference and view throughout the assignment. However, in this scenario, it looks like our teacher wants us to complete the attached assignment using Cami to fill in the blanks. Now, in order to open with Cami, I need to click on this far right option that says Open with Cami. You will notice that when this opens along the left-hand side that I have a bunch of tools that I can use to mark up the text. Some of them are locked, meaning I will not be able to access them. The first tool that you might use is the markup tool. This can be used to highlight text. Take your cursor, drag it over the word, and you can see that I highlighted the text. Another tool you might use is the text box. Select your font size, select the color of the text, double click, and then you can type. Another tool you might use is the draw tool. Your teacher might ask you to do something like underline certain words. Another tool you may end up using is the shape tool. Your teacher may ask you to circle certain words. The last thing is if you happen to make any mistakes, there is an eraser. All you need to do is click on what it is that you want to erase, and it will go away. Once you feel like you have followed all of the directions and you are ready to turn it in, click in the upper right-hand corner on the Turn In button. Click Turn In again. This will redirect you back to Schoology. Once you are back to Schoology, what you need to do is you will need to click on the Submit button, and this will turn it into your teacher. Your teacher will be able to view your markups in the Cami extension.
You will find this closed reading guide attached. This will give you the 5 steps that you go through when you close read a text. You need to follow these steps every time, and you need to do them in order. Do not skip any steps. The second page has all of the symbols. So as you are close reading, you need to use these symbols to leave your thinking on the page. So while you are reading, you might want to have this up in another window or another tab so that you can reference it and use the symbols as you are close reading the text. You are going to use Cami to annotate your article, to leave your thinking on the page. You can use the features in there such as the highlighter, underline. You can pick different colors. You can use shapes to circle things. You can use the drawing tool to do your symbols. And then finally the text box so that you can leave your thinking on the page. So you should have symbols throughout your article, and then you should be using the text box around the margins and in between the paragraphs to leave your thinking on the page. For example, let's say you had a question in this paragraph, and so right here you had a question, so you'd put a text box there and you would put a question mark. And then now you need to explain this question mark. Tell me why you left it. So then you put a text box over here and then you explain your thinking. So you're in that text box, you tell me what your question is. So you should have text boxes and symbols throughout the page. Okay, now it's time to decide. Do you want to do your close reading with your close reading guide in 2 tabs with a split screen, or printing out the close reading guide to reference? So in one screen, you're going to have the article. You're going to open it with Cami. The other screen, you're going to have the closed reading guide. So you're going to open this article with Cami, and then you will have the tools you need to close read. Circle, underline, highlight, make your symbols. So as you close read your article, you can reference your close reading guide to make sure you go through all 5 steps in order. And you also can scroll down to the second page for the symbols guide. When you are done with your close reading, all 5 steps, and you have put in your symbols, you use text boxes to type in your thinking, then you're going to turn it in Cami by clicking this turn in button, which will bring you back to Schoology, and you will submit your assignment there.